There is a breakfast that looks almost perfect. A spoonful of coconut oil is stirred into coffee because it is supposed to support the brain and heart. Several slices of lean turkey are placed on whole grain toast because red meat has been removed from the diet. A large bottle of fruit smoothie sits beside the plate because the label says it contains 3 servings of fruit. Nothing on the table looks dangerous. There's no bacon dripping with grease, no frosted donut, no obvious fast food. Every item has been chosen deliberately by someone trying to protect their arteries after 60. Yet that same breakfast may deliver a heavy dose of saturated fat, enough sodium to complicate blood pressure control, and a concentrated load of sugar that arrives without the intact structure of whole fruit. The danger is not that coconut, turkey, or fruit suddenly becomes poisonous after a particular birthday. The danger is the way these foods are processed, portioned, marketed, and repeatedly consumed under the protection of one powerful word: healthy. After 60, that word deserves closer inspection. Arteries are often stiffer than they were decades earlier. High blood pressure becomes more common. The body may handle glucose less efficiently. Kidney function may be reduced. LDL cholesterol may have already spent years entering artery walls. A food that produces only a small problem once may become significant when it appears every morning, every lunch, and every week for years. This is general education, not a universal list of forbidden foods. A person's needs can change with diabetes, kidney disease, heart failure, medications, weight, appetite, and nutritional status. The correct lesson is not never touch these foods again. It is to stop assuming that the front of the package tells you what the food is doing inside the body. The first food is coconut oil. Coconut oil has been marketed as a natural alternative to butter and industrial seed oils. It appears in coffee, oatmeal, baked goods, protein snacks, and supplements. Some people add a tablespoon to food every day because they have been told its medium-chain fats are burned rapidly and cannot harm the arteries. And that explanation leaves out most of the oil. Coconut oil is extremely high in saturated fat. The American Heart Association reports that approximately 82% of its fatty acids are saturated and advises against treating it as a heart-healthy oil because controlled studies show that it raises LDL cholesterol. Current AHA dietary guidance continues to recommend replacing saturated fats with unsaturated fats from foods such as olive oil, canola oil, nuts, seeds, and fish. LDL is not simply a number doctors use to sell medication. LDL-containing particles transport cholesterol through the bloodstream. When too many circulate for too long, some enter the artery wall. The immune system reacts. Plaque develops over years. That plaque can narrow the artery or rupture suddenly, triggering a heart attack or stroke. The effect is cumulative. A tablespoon of coconut oil contains almost an entire day's saturated fat allowance under the stricter heart health target used by the American Heart Association. That does not mean one spoon causes a heart attack. It means the spoon may consume most of the saturated fat budget before cheese, meat, milk, desserts, or packaged foods are counted. The most deceptive part is that coconut oil may raise HDL cholesterol as well as LDL. This allows marketers to say that it improves good cholesterol, but raising HDL does not erase the significance of raising LDL. A substance can change 2 laboratory numbers at once. The relevant question is whether replacing an unsaturated oil with coconut oil improves cardiovascular outcomes. Current guidance does not support that substitution. The AHA recommends non-tropical liquid oils, including olive, canola, soybean, sunflower, and similar oils, in place of coconut oil and other highly saturated fats. The say-prost canned food is lean deli turkey. Fresh skinless turkey can fit into a heart-healthy eating pattern. The problem is what happens after the turkey is sliced, cured, flavored, preserved, smoked, or transformed into turkey bacon and turkey sausage, and the word turkey remains on the front. The sodium moves to the nutrition label. A sandwich made with several deli slices may appear much healthier than a cheeseburger. Yet the turkey, bread, cheese, mustard, and pickles can combine into an unexpectedly high sodium meal. The person may never touch a salt shaker and still consume a large share of the daily limit before dinner. Sodium pulls water into the bloodstream. That additional volume can increase pressure inside blood vessels and make the heart work harder. Over time, high blood pressure contributes to artery damage and raises the risk of stroke, heart disease, kidney disease, and heart failure. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day for most adults and identifies 1,500 milligrams as an ideal limit for many people, particularly those with high blood pressure. More than 70% of sodium in the typical American diet comes from prepared, packaged, and restaurant foods, rather than the salt added at the table. Processed turkey is a perfect example of how sodium hides behind a lean image. One brand may contain several times more sodium than another. A serving shown on the label may be only 2 ounces, while the sandwich actually contains twice that amount. Reduced sodium does not mean low sodium. It means the product contains less sodium than that company's regular version. Turkey bacon creates the same illusion. The word turkey suggests that the food is automatically heart-safe because it contains less fat than pork bacon, but the product can remain highly processed and salty. Turkey sausage, smoked turkey, and flavored turkey slices deserve the same label inspection. The American Heart Association specifically warns that processed turkey products can contribute significant sodium and advises choosing lean, less processed forms while comparing labels. The third food is the bottled fruit smoothie or large glass of fruit juice. Fruit is healthy. That sentence is true, but eating an orange is not identical to drinking several oranges after their structure has been destroyed and much of their fiber has been removed. Whole fruit requires chewing. Its water, fiber, and cellular structure slow the eating process and affect how quickly the sugars become available. A person might eat 1 apple and feel satisfied. The same person can drink the juice from several apples within minutes and still eat a full breakfast. The label may say no added sugar, which means no sugar was added during manufacturing. It does not mean the drink contains little sugar or produces the same metabolic response as intact fruit. Bottled smoothies can become even more deceptive. Some contain fruit puree, juice concentrates, sweetened yogurt, honey, syrups, or multiple servings inside one bottle. The front displays berries and green leaves. The back may reveal that the bottle contains 2 servings and a substantial amount of total sugar. The American Diabetes Association's current nutrition guidance emphasizes whole fruit and identifies water as the primary beverage choice. The American Heart Association similarly recommends eating whole fruit and limiting juice portions. One of its practical recommendations is to keep 100% fruit or vegetable juice to approximately half a cup, rather than treating a large bottle as a free food. The problem becomes more important when a person has prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, elevated triglycerides, fatty liver disease, or difficulty controlling weight. Sugar consumed in liquid form is easy to deliver quickly and easy to underestimate. A drink does not always create the same fullness as a meal containing whole fruit, protein, and fiber. Calories can therefore be added without a corresponding reduction in food later. Fruit drinks are more concerning when they contain added sugars. Words such as cane sugar, honey, agave, syrup, and fruit juice concentrate may sound more natural than table sugar, but they still contribute added sugar. The American Heart Association advises minimizing added sugars and lists sweetened beverages, fruit drinks, sweetened yogurts, cereals, and bars among common sources. I want to tell you about a woman I will call Margaret, a representative composite rather than one identifiable patient. Margaret was 68 and had become serious about heart health after her older brother underwent bypass surgery. She stopped buying bacon, removed butter from the refrigerator, and promised herself that every breakfast would be clean. Her new routine looked impressive. She blended coffee with coconut oil because a health podcast called it brain fuel. She replaced bacon with smoked turkey slices. She washed breakfast down with a large bottled berry smoothie containing kale, apple, banana, and natural energy. Margaret lost several pounds during the first month because she had also stopped eating pastries. That early improvement convinced her that every part of the breakfast was helping. Over the following year, however, her blood pressure became harder to control. Her LDL cholesterol rose despite the removal of butter. Her fasting glucose moved into the pre-diabetes range, and her triglycerides increased. Margaret felt betrayed. She told her clinician that she ate no unhealthy foods. Instead of arguing, the clinician asked her to describe one ordinary day in exact amounts. The coconut oil was not a teaspoon. It was a heaping tablespoon, sometimes two. The turkey serving was not 2 slices. It was 6 slices of smoked deli meat layered across 2 pieces of bread. The smoothie bottle was labeled as containing 2 servings, but Margaret drank the entire bottle because she believed one bottle meant 1 serving. The food diary changed the interpretation of her diet. Her breakfast contained less obvious junk food than before, but the coconut oil supplied a concentrated amount of saturated fat. The processed turkey contributed substantial sodium. The smoothie delivered several portions of rapidly consumed fruit, and, depending on the product, added sweeteners. None of the free foods explained every laboratory result by itself. Margaret's genetics, physical activity, sleep, total calorie intake, body composition, medications, and the rest of her diet still mattered. But the healthy breakfast was no longer invisible. Her clinician did not ban fruit, turkey, or coconut from her life. The foods were replaced according to the problem each one was creating. Coconut oil was replaced with a modest amount of olive oil in cooking, while coffee returned to coffee rather than becoming a delivery system for fat. Smoked deli turkey was replaced on most days with home-cooked chicken, fish, beans, eggs, or leftover fresh turkey. When Margaret did buy deli meat, she compared sodium per serving and used less. The bottled smoothie was replaced with whole berries or an apple beside plain yogurt, oatmeal, or a meal containing protein and fiber. When she wanted a smoothie, she prepared a smaller version without juice concentrate, or added sweeteners, and counted the entire drink as part of the meal. Several months later, her numbers improved. The result did not prove that 3 foods had caused every problem. Margaret had changed several parts of her routine, but she finally understood the marketing trick that had kept the original breakfast beyond suspicion. The foods had been judged by their reputations. The body responded to their actual composition. Before I continue, let me ask you something important. Have you ever made a major decision while feeling worried, rushed, or unsure which information you could trust? That is how costly mistakes often begin. A frightening headline can influence your investments. Conflicting health advice can leave you confused. A convincing salesperson, online scam, or emotional family situation can pressure you into acting before you have checked the facts. And after 50, the consequences can be much greater. One poor decision may affect your retirement savings, your health, your independence, or your peace of mind for years. That is why I want you to take a look at the decision trap. It is a practical guide designed to help adults over 50 recognize fear, manipulation, hidden bias, misleading information, and high-pressure tactics before making an important decision. Inside, you will find a simple step-by-step system for slowing the situation down, checking the evidence, asking the right questions, comparing your options, and protecting yourself from mistakes that could become expensive. Do not wait until a bad decision teaches you the lesson the hard way. Click the link in the description and get your copy of The Decision Trap now. Then come straight back, because the next part gives you 4 practical checks for seeing past healthy marketing, calculating the true serving size, comparing what a food replaced, and judging the complete eating pattern rather than one. Ingredients. There are 4 checks worth making before accepting any food marketed as healthy after 60. The first is to ignore the front of the package temporarily. Words such as natural, plant-based, keto, lean, organic, cholesterol-free, immunity-supporting, and no added sugar do not tell you whether the product is low in saturated fat, sodium, total sugar, or calories. Coconut oil is plant-based and cholesterol-free because plants do not contain cholesterol. It can still raise LDL because of its saturated fat content. Deli turkey can be lean and high in protein while still delivering substantial sodium. A smoothie can contain vitamins and antioxidants while also delivering more sugar and calories than the person intended. 2 truths can exist inside the same food. The second check is the serving size. Ask how many servings you actually eat. If a bottle lists 2 servings and you drink the bottle, every number must be doubled. If 2 ounces of turkey is 1 serving and the sandwich contains 4 ounces, the sodium doubles. If 1 tablespoon of oil is the serving, but the spoon is poured freely into a pan, the saturated fat may be much higher than assumed. The third check is what the food replaced. This is one of the most important questions in nutrition. Replacing butter with coconut oil may not improve LDL because both are high in saturated fat. Replacing bacon with heavily processed turkey may reduce some fat while leaving sodium high. Replacing soda with a small amount of 100% juice may be an improvement, but replacing whole fruit and water with a giant smoothie may move the diet in the wrong direction. A food cannot be called healthier without asking, healthier than what? The fourth check is the patterns surrounding the food. A small amount of coconut in an otherwise balanced diet is not the same as several tablespoons of coconut oil daily. A few slices of deli turkey occasionally are not the same as processed meat at breakfast and lunch every day. Half a cup of juice is not the same as a 20-ounce bottle consumed as though it were water. The 2026 American Heart Association Dietary Guidance emphasizes the entire pattern. Vegetables and fruits, mostly whole grains, healthy protein sources, unsaturated fats instead of saturated fats, minimally processed foods instead of ultra-processed foods, less sodium, and fewer added sugars. No isolated superfood can compensate for a pattern repeatedly moving in the opposite direction. The useful phrase at a medical appointment is not, "Which 3 foods should I never eat?" It is more specific, "I have high blood pressure, elevated LDL, diabetes, kidney disease, or another cardiovascular risk. Could we review the foods I eat regularly and identify where saturated fat, sodium added, sugar, or excessive portions may be hiding?" That question produces a personalized answer rather than another universal blacklist. Someone who is underweight, frail, or losing appetite may need a different plan from someone trying to reduce cardiovascular risk and body weight. Someone with kidney disease may need individualized guidance about sodium, potassium, protein, and fluids. Someone taking warfarin may need consistent vitamin K intake rather than avoiding vegetables. Someone with diabetes may need to consider the amount, timing, and form of carbohydrates rather than simply removing every sweet-tasting food. A registered dietitian can translate those medical needs into actual meals without reducing nutrition to fear. Do not panic because you have coconut oil in the cabinet. Do not throw away fresh turkey. Do not become afraid of fruit. The title says never eat these foods, but the evidence supports a more useful instruction. Stop eating the highly saturated, heavily processed, oversized versions as though their healthy reputation makes the dose irrelevant. The most dangerous foods after 60 are not always the ones everyone recognizes as unhealthy. Sometimes they arrive in green bottles, sometimes they are labeled lean, sometimes they are stirred into coffee by someone who believes they are protecting the heart. Margaret did not fail because she lacked discipline. She failed because she was disciplined around the wrong information. The coconut oil, deli turkey, and smoothie were not poisons. They were foods whose saturated fat, sodium, sugar, and serving sizes had been hidden behind a story. Your arteries do not read that story. They respond to what reaches the bloodstream. Before you leave, understand what is really at risk. The cost of this guide is small, but the cost of one rushed financial decision, one misleading health claim, one convincing scam, or one panic-driven reaction can be far greater. It can cost you money you spent years saving. It can cost you confidence in your own judgment. And in some cases, it can cost you your independence and peace of mind. The decision trap was created to help you recognize pressure, fear, hidden bias, and misleading information before they influence an important decision. You may not need this guide every day, but on the day you face a decision that could affect your savings, health, or future, not having a clear system may become far more expensive than getting one today. Click the link in the description and get your copy of The Decision Trap now, because the best time to protect yourself from a costly mistake is before you make it.